Thank you for being here today. The purpose of this press conference is to report some events that have been occurring in the city of Andalusia related to our utility board, and particularly the water and sewer department of the utility board. The first thing I want to say clearly and loudly is to the people of Andalusia and to the consumers of our services, the water and the sewer services, what we're about to talk about in no way impacts the quality of those services. The water is in good condition. The sewers are in as good a condition as they can be, and we will continue to stay on top of that. In fact, we have engaged the services of some outside consultants to help us with that, to make certain that all of our systems are up and running and doing fine. And we have been advised by those consultants who will be with us for probably about 3 months at least, that we are in good condition and that our water services and our sewer services are in good condition. So let me start out by saying what we're about to talk about in no way impacts the services that our people are receiving. On Tuesday, June the 11th, I met with an informant who happened to be a former employee of the water sewer department to hear these allegations concerning misconduct in the water and sewer department for the very first time. The meeting took place in Chief Wilbur Williams' office at the police department. Both the chief and I heard for the very first time allegations related to misconduct by some employees of the water and sewer department. This was the first I had heard of this alleged misconduct from anybody who had supposedly first-hand knowledge of it. We'd heard a few rumors and that kind of stuff a few days before that, but this was the first time that we'd actually was able to sit down with someone who would have personal knowledge of what the allegations were. That meeting lasted probably for about 90 minutes. At the conclusion of the meeting, which was again on Tuesday, June the 11th, I stood up and I instructed the chief to begin an investigation into this matter and to follow it wherever it goes. I gave him full latitude to pursue the evidence, and we had a person here, an informant, if you want to call him that, a former employee who was willing to cooperate and help us get started on that. And so they started that day, the police department started that day with the investigation. On Thursday of that same week, we met on Tuesday the first time. On Thursday, June 13th, I left on an extended industrial recruitment tour out of town. That was on Thursday, I believe. Before I left town, I called Chief Williams and told him that I was about to be out of town for about 10 days. And again, discussed with him the importance of this investigation and for him to move forward with it. And he needn't call me about anything unless he had some question for me that I needed to answer. And he agreed that was the way to proceed. On Friday, June the 20th, or Saturday, June the 21st, and I'm not sure which day this occurred on, while I was still out of town, I received a call from Chief Williams, at which time he updated me on the status of the investigation. I advised Chief Williams to carry on and to take whatever police action was necessary and proper in the investigation and that needed to be done, and that I would be back in town, back in Andalusia on June the 25th, which would be 2 days later. And at that time, I would get briefed by him and his staff. On Tuesday, June the 25th, I returned to Andalusia and met with Chief Williams and his staff. Again, I got back in town about 6 o'clock. At 6:30, I was in City Hall meeting with Chief Williams and his staff, and we, I guess, met till about 10:30 that night. And they went through great detail concerning what the investigation had turned up. And it had turned up some misconduct related to a department head, an assistant department head, and a supervisor in the water sewer department. That was on June the 25th, about 10:30 that night when I left to go home. On Wednesday, June the 26th, the very next day, I issued a press release. It read, Mayor Johnson, Chairman of the Utilities Board of the City of Andalusia, has requested that the Andalusia Police Department conduct an investigation into the conduct of a number of the board's sewer and water department employees. The investigation is still ongoing, and there have been no arrests thus far. There will be no report until the investigation is complete, which is expected to be within 7 to 10 days. At the conclusion of the investigation, there will be further announcements, and all media will be notified as to how, when, and where that will occur. And that's today. The investigation has not been totally completed, but as far as our police department's portion of it is, at this point, it has been completed. And the investigation will now be turned over to the District Attorney's Office, Coleman County District Attorney's Office. And by the way, he's here today, and I appreciate you coming along to this press conference. Today, July the 9th, I'm ready to report at least some of the current results of the investigation. Number one, with respect to water and sewer department employees, we have an department head who is no longer employed by the utility board. We have a water and sewer department assistant department head who is no longer employed by the utility board. We have a water and sewer department supervisor who has been suspended without pay pending the outcome of the investigation and other possible legal actions that may come about because of the investigation. During the investigation, it was revealed, we found out that there were 4 employees of the department who had made untruthful comments, or not comments, had made untruthful replies on their employment application. One of those employees has resigned. Another was separated because he had not completed his employment probationary period, which is 6 months. And 2 more are being dealt with pursuant to our personnel policies and procedures as we speak. Our investigation has revealed that approximately $28,000 is the amount of money that was improperly spent or used by these employees. And let me make this clear. The 4 employees who made misstatements on their application were not involved in this investigation in any way. It just turned up during the investigation. We found on their applications that they made untruthful replies. But they were not involved in the other inappropriate conduct, as far as we know. We have been able to determine that there are about $28,000 that was misspent or misused and other misconduct by the 3 employees that I referred to position above. We will take all steps that are available to us to recover that, and we feel like we will be able to recover the $28,000. And I bring that up simply to say there's been a lot of rumors out there about this involving hundreds of thousands of dollars and all kinds of stuff, amounts like that. That's not supported by the evidence. In addition, we have implemented new policies that will hopefully help us prevent this kind of conduct in the future. And we will continue to develop new policies related to that as we work on that. All of the evidence related to our investigation, to the Andalusia Police Department's investigation, will now be turned over to the Covington County District Attorney's Office for appropriate action as the District Attorney sees fit. The Andalusia Police Department has been instructed to fully cooperate with the District Attorney and his investigation and possible legal as the legal process continues. Now, recap from June the 11th until today is 28 days. There have been those who have accused me and the Andalusia Police Department of an attempted cover-up in this matter. I think any fair-minded person would agree that completing an investigation of this complexity within 28 days is quite an achievement. Also, I would add that during this investigation, our police department has contacted the Alabama Attorney General's Office, the Alabama Ethics Commission, and the Covington County District Attorney's Office. So this has not been an investigation that's been conducted behind closed doors only within the department. There have been others who have been aware of it and made aware of it. In addition to that, I have written a letter to the Alabama Ethics Commission advising them of possible ethics violations by these folks who are the subject matter of this investigation. Now, that will be followed up with by the Ethics Commission, the Attorney General's Office, or the District Attorney's Office as they see fit. Now, I will be happy to answer questions that you might have, but let me start out by saying I'm not going to comment on any particular items of evidence other than what I have already commented on, because, as I said, the District Attorney may continue this investigation, and it will be up to him to handle this from this point forward. And it will be up to him to release what he wants to release with respect to any kind of evidence before it's heard by other legal entities like a grand jury. Also, under our personnel policies, and when I say our, I'm talking about the city's personnel policies and procedures, I am not supposed to release the names of these individuals until the investigation is complete, so I cannot do that. So I know you're going to ask me that, but I can't do that at this point. And under state law, I am supposed to remind everyone here that what I have said here is the result of our investigation. These people have not been charged with any crime at this point. They've not been indicted at this point, and they certainly have not been found guilty at this point. So the presumption of innocence that follows anyone with respect to criminal activity before they're convicted, these people, that same presumption follows them. They are innocent until presumed, they are presumed innocent until found guilty by a court. Now, we have to answer any questions.
Mayor Johnson, you mentioned $28,000 in properly spent or used. You also mentioned other misconduct. Can you comment on any of the other misconduct that you're referring to?
Would be use of utility board equipment for personal use. not stealing the equipment, I don't mean that, but using it for personal use inappropriately, so.
Was there hard items such as tires and equipment that was purchased?
Can't comment on that. There were items purchased that should not have been, but I'm not going to comment on any specific purchase.
Mayor Johnson, as a result of the investigation, do you believe that it would be in the best interest of the citizens of Andalusia and those that are members of the utility board of this city that you instill some type of purchasing system or a purchasing agent to prevent just credit cards from floating around and being abused, such as the case in this? Also, the second question would be, does this particular incident possibly involve the purchase of a 270 model Savage rifle from a Bass Pro Shop in Prattville, Alabama on a city credit card?
Well, as I responded to the other question, I'll answer your last one first, because that's the easiest one to answer. I can't answer that. They'll have to come out at the appropriate time. There were items purchased using utility board credit cards inappropriately. That's all I can say about that at this time. In response to your first question, we are already taking steps to address these issues with respect to use of credit cards and other purchasing policy practices by employees. Let me say this about the bigger issue here. You know, you hire people that you think are qualified to do the job, and you try to give them the equipment and the tools that they need to do the job. You set up certain checks and balances along the way. But any system that's put in place is a man-made system, and it's not perfect. And all you got to do is pick up the paper every day to read about a system that has been misused somewhere. Unfortunately, it happened to us in our utility operation. So we are, again, a man-made system can always be defeated if someone is determined enough to do that. Our job is to make it very difficult, very hard to do that, and we will, and we have already taken steps to address those issues, and we'll continue to look at that and take further steps as we deem necessary in the future. Yes, sir.
Just some clarification. So 3 employees, well, 2 currently are no longer employed, and 1 is on administrative leave without pay or with pay?
Without pay.
Without pay. And that's, as of right now, that's the only 3 employees suspected with these allegations?
That's right. The other 4 employees that I mentioned had what they're being disciplined for has nothing to do with these wrongful acts that I've been talking about. Again, what they did is they put something on their job application that was not true, and that turned up during the investigation. That's the point of having an investigation. Sometimes you think you know all the facts, and you don't know them until you get into something turned up. So that we took appropriate action related to those 4, but there are 3 that are primarily, that we know of right now, that are primarily involved in the misconduct relating to purchases and misuse of equipment and that sort of thing. Yes, ma'am.
And these expenses go as far as how far back?
3 years. 3-year statute of limitations, criminal action, and so we went back 3 years.
In most cases, Mayor, there's a limit that an individual can purchase on a credit card or check, or individual without approval from the board. Were these limits exceeded by these individuals?
I don't think so. No, they weren't any huge purchases. These are purchases that would come through and would look, in line with what a department head could go out and purchase if it was in need of this particular piece of equipment or whatever. So it wasn't anything, they wasn't like a $10,000 purchase or a $5,000 purchase, or anything like that.
How long have these individuals been with the city? I mean, ranging from, they only been here 3 or 4 years? They've been
One is, the department head had been here since about 2003 or 4. The assistant department head goes back much further than that. I don't remember how long. And then the supervisor only been here maybe a year, something like that.
Mayor, you mentioned accusations of cover-ups by either your office, City of Andalusia, or the Andalusia Police Department. Would you care to comment on what you think the motive for those accusations would be?
That's not my job here today, is on motives. I just want to make clear that this investigation was done aggressively, without any limits on the investigators, and without, quite frankly, any input from me except go find out what happened and do it as quickly as you can. And I think under the circumstances, I know some people put in 12 and 14-hour days getting this work done. And by the way, I want to congratulate our police department and our investigative staff for a job well done. A lot of this is real detailed work, going back through boxes of files and receipts and all kind of stuff, and matching stuff up. Very, very, very detailed, very hard work, and they did a really good job, I think.
Mayor, do you think these accusations that have been discussed here that were made on your department and the police department have cost the taxpayers any extra to speed up the investigation, create more pressure on the administration and the department?
No, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that some things happened during the investigation may have crossed the line, and we don't pursue that. See where that goes.
Mayor Johnson, is it the city's policy that any credit card purchase, when it is turned in by an employee or supervisor to be paid, is supported by an actual receipt?
Yes.
Or they just code it accordingly?
No, they'll be accompanied by a receipt.
And do you believe that this may be a wake-up call that the utility board may need a separate standalone utility manager, someone that can devote more time to that particular process so that you could focus more on the City of Andalusia's business?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting down there looking at receipts if I was a full-time manager. I mean, we have clerks that do that. And unfortunately, as I said, a man-made system is subject to fail from time to time. That's just what happened here. Now, I will say this, there's no evidence whatsoever that any of those folks were involved in this in any way. It's just a matter of stuff getting by them. It's the nature of human being. Those things happen. And I don't think that it, hey, you know, I'd love to hire a full-time manager, another full-time manager for the utilities department. But it would cost us about $125,000, $50,000 a year to do that. I'm doing that job for nothing. So far, we show we've lost $28,000, which we think we can recover. So if you measure what it would cost to have a full-time manager against what it has cost us by not having one, I think that we're on a good end of that.
Mr. Mayor, what is...
And I'm not being smart aleck by saying that, Mr. Wilson. What I'm saying is, you can always second guess things after the fact. And I'm not saying that there's not a better way to do things, because there are, and we're looking at those avenues and those ways of improving our system. What I don't want to do is spend a lot more money to keep something like this from happening than is necessary. And because in the end, the folks that have to pay that are the consumers of our services, this utility board. And so by saving $500,000 over a 4-year period of time, that's a pretty significant amount of money.
You mentioned that the statute of limitations is 3 years. Do you feel like this is those allegations actually went back further than 3 years?
We're going to look at that. I don't think so, and there's a reason why, and I'm not ready to talk about that because it has to do with a legal issue and an evidentiary issue. But there's something that occurred relating to how our system works, and it's based on computers and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm not going to get into the details of it here today, but it gave a little window of opportunity, and that's about when that happened, was about 2.5 years ago. So, we're looking at how to fix that.
The amount of money that was $28,000 that was caught up in this spree, or whatever you want to call it, over the past several years, compared to the dollars that are spent on like was brought up, receipts and all that, how much does the utility department have to oversee every year on credit cards compared to the?
Oh, I couldn't give you a number on credit cards. What I can tell you is that, you know, the utility board's budget is huge. Because we spend a
It's
lot.
in millions, right?
Oh, absolutely, it's like 40 million.
So $28,000 compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the $28,000 was spread over a period of 3 years. Again, I'm not minimizing that. $28,000 is a lot of money, and we want to prevent a single penny from being not used properly. But when you compare that number with the system, it's not a huge percentage. It's a very, very small percentage. That doesn't lessen the importance of stopping that sort of thing from happening in the future. Yes, ma'am.
From my understanding, there was a home and rent level that was, there was a warrant served at this home related to this investigation. Now, I'm guessing, is this the home of one of these, to get some of these?
It was a search warrant that was issued and executed in furtherance of the investigation. How's that?
He's a lawyer.
And speaking on that service of the red level warrant, there was accusations made by certain people that this was a slap in the face to local law enforcement, that our agency would go into another town and serve warrants. Is this a standard procedure for law enforcement to?
Well, I don't want to get way off in the weeds on that too much, but let me say this: what was done was perfectly legal. Most investigations are conducted in secret. You don't want the objects or the subjects of your investigation to know what's going on, so you have to keep it within the knowledge of as few people as you can. And so what was done was legal. It was done in furtherance of an investigation that if the word starts getting out that so-and-so is being investigated, the evidence can start disappearing. And those kinds of things, and other conduct to foil the investigation starts happening. So that's why it's important that investigations of this nature have to be conducted within the confines of the department that's doing the investigation.
Do you believe that by not including the district attorney's office in that search warrant and not contacting the Red Level Police Department and serving a search warrant in their jurisdiction meets the quote standard protocol for law enforcement in any city, not just Andalusia or Covington County?
The search warrant was signed by a district court judge directing the Andalusia Police Department to conduct the search. Yeah, if that's improper, you probably need to talk to the judge about that.
And was the district attorney a subject of the investigation at any time?
Of course not.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to rush it. You do have no rush.
All right, thank you all for being here, and we will, hopefully this will be concluded soon without any further surprises.
Hey, Mayor, can I ask you one more thing? How disappointing was it when you found out that the allegations were true, or at least some of them were?
Well, it's very disappointing, and
All right, so
you feel that you've been betrayed. Two of these employees were hired on my watch. Again, you try to hire good people. You try to give them the tools to do their job. You have to trust somebody, and so it's real disheartening when it turns out that someone abuses that trust. Thank you.